So I wanted to start this video about an hour ago, but I couldn't find my tripod that I use to obviously put the camera on. So I'm like trying to organize my new office space here. We've just moved house. We finally bought a house, so yeah, entered the housing market. Woo! For way too much. Anyway, so I'm walking around and then I look out the room and it's it's right here on the ground. Anyway, let's get started. Into the kitchen. And the funny thing is, you guys will probably think it looks like the old house because it's effectively the same setup in terms of the layout of the house. The suburb that we bought in, we ended up buying this house. I think it's like 500 meters from from where we originally lived. And yeah, they're all built by the same groups and with the same layout. So anyway, this house is effectively the same layout as the previous one, although I've kind of set things up slightly differently. So I think I'm going to be doing this video from this angle with the light sort of coming in from the windows there. Everything is a total mess, so forgive me for that. You guys will know probably what house moving is like. It's a nightmare. It's apparently more stressful than divorce. I haven't divorced anyone yet, so I have no idea about that, but it was definitely not fun. Anyway, so today I'm going to try and diagnose one of my Philodendron Florida Beauties that is just not looking too crash hot, so I think we'll end up repotting it into soil. Anyway, I'll go get her and we'll get started. I need to get a smaller changing mat. Thinking about my kids' potting mat, because this one is just far too big and a real pain in the ass to sort of unravel each time I want to use it. So we'll have to keep an eye out online for those. Anyway, so this is my Florida Beauty. This is one of the first ones that I had, and the last three leaves, these large ones that have come out, have started to really droop. And so I'm suspecting from the research that I've done online that it's an issue with either too much fertilizer, where the salts and the fertilizers built up in this semi-hydro system here. It's also not looking too crash hot. It's just so dark in there that maybe there's root rot, maybe there's some issues there too. It's full of algae, I'm not sure. The other issue is it may not be getting enough nutrients, so there's that too. And the last one could be that we have nutrient lockout, which I guess is associated with the previous one, where the pH of the water is too high or too low, probably too high, and it's not allowing proper nutrient uptake by the plant. Pests is a potential issue too. I'm not really sure, but I haven't seen any signs of pests on these leaves at all. The only thing that sort of worries me is just this wilting. The weird thing is the younger leaves, I don't know if you can see this, are looking great. So that's what makes me think it's much more likely, another leaf here, that it is a nutrient uptake thing where the plant's obviously not getting the nutrients it needs, and the newer leaves, as a result, are suffering from that. I'm not really sure. It could be that because of the browning on these leaves too, although the browning is happening on this leaf primarily, which is highly variegated. There's only a tiny little bit of green here, so I don't know if that's a nutrient thing or the plant just being like, this leaf's cooked, we don't need it, kill it. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do is pot it up into soil. I was thinking that I could do it into semi-hydro. I could put it back into leca or something, and that is an option. The only thing that I'm sort of worried about is potentially, if it is a semi-hydro thing, I'm sort of thinking on the fly as we go now, guys. I guess I could do it in leca. The roots are probably obviously adapted to semi-hydro, so that might be a better option. They don't have to grow into soil roots. And then I'll just have to double check that the solution I use is definitely pH balanced to the right window, I think between 5.5 and 6.8 or so. So yeah, I'll have to have a think. If you guys have any suggestions too, any feedback, feel free to leave those or that feedback in the comments below, because yeah, again, I'm no expert when it comes to diagnosing Florida Beauties with their problems. This is pretty much the first problem that I've come across with the Florida Beauty. It just does not look right to me. It looks cooked, and I've asked a few friends and they're kind of like, it should be fine, right? Should be fine. Doesn't look too bad. And I'm like, I got a feeling it's just not great. The Floridas usually hold their leaves out really nicely, like these older ones. Anyway, okay, so I think what we'll do first is we will pour out all of the nutrient solution, and I'm going to support these nodes that have been air layered. This is a tricky part, that it's just such a sort of large plant and it's been growing so rigorously. I think it's mainly because it's in semi-hydro, and it was obviously doing well up until recently, and even now it's still sort of going. It's still pushing these leaves out continuously. It's doing one every couple of weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks. It's usually working on the next one before the most recent one's even hardened off. So that's why I was kind of like, you know, if it was some of these other things like a humidity issue or a temperature issue or plant shock, you would imagine that the plant would kind of be suffering all over the place, and or it would just slow down with its growth. It wouldn't be pushing out new leaves all the time, but it seems to be doing that, which is what's making me think that perhaps it's a CalMag deficiency or something caused by the nutrient solution not being right, not being adjusted well, and there being lockout or some sort of issue. And it's probably time to up pot it anyway, because this is sort of a really awkward kind of milkshakey pot that I got it in, and I'm just really trying to gently pull it out without damaging the roots or ripping them off, but it doesn't seem to want to come. Come on, come off the sides and just slide out, mate. Come on. Okay, here we go. Boom. Okay, yeah, that is looking so gross and funky, so it was almost definitely time for a repot. The roots have done pretty well. I think when I got this, they were still about this far off the bottom of the reservoir, but now, looking at it, they have definitely grown all through it, and I was sort of somewhat surprised at the extent of the roots. Seems to be a little bit of root rot here. I can see some roots have come away from the bundle. Yeah, there's a bit of root rot at the bottom here. That could be partially the issue too, although a lot of these roots right at the bottom here look white and healthy, so this might just be some sort of natural root die-off, right? I think the roots frequently in plants die off and sort of readjust themselves, so just because you find dead roots, I don't think it's always a sign of catastrophic root rot where, you know, you need to be panicking and calling out the big guns, but either way, it's not fun to find. Look at this perlite, trying to sort of separate it out, but it's not wanting to go. All right, so I think I might just chuck it into perlite with a perlite. I might chuck it into leca with the perlite just left into these roots, because I don't know if I want to really disturb them too much. Again, guys, if you have advice, please, and I'm thinking of you, Nora, the leca queen, if you guys have some significant advice, please do not be shy with mentioning it down in the comments, as I would love to learn from you guys when it comes to semi-hydro, leca, everything like that, as I am still just sort of slowly getting into it. But the bottom of the plant looks good, you know, these leaves look really healthy. They're really rigid, the cells in them are obviously really turgid, meaning they've got a lot of water in them, they're holding themselves up well. It's just these newer leaves that aren't looking crash hot. So, all right, I think I'm just gonna kind of leave this as a plug. Just getting some more rotten roots out of here. It's a rather large one in here too that seems to have rotted off. But yeah. I think I might just leave it like that and try not to do too much more damage to things. And how much of this moss can I kind of separate out from the top without, again, damaging the roots too much more? Because if I do put this into leca and I sink it down, I don't know that I really want much moss down in there. I guess I would have to keep it above the moss, above the leca, or else it can end up causing root rot as well, because it's just plant material that is, yeah, sitting there rotting. Man, I'm so tempted to propagate this thing whilst I've got it here. Although I only just air layered the top part here, so I'm sort of wanting to give it just a little bit longer. Far out, this is such a mess, but the roots have all grown throughout this moss at the top here, and I really want to do as little damage as possible. All right, I think I'll call it quits there for now with just disturbing it. And there are some really rotten roots, but they're kind of just in and around all these healthy roots, so I really don't know how much to worry about this. I think what I'm going to do is get some water and some hydrogen peroxide and give this a soak, just to hopefully kill any of the bad bacteria that's in there if it is a root rot problem. And I have pretty much the perfect thing sitting right here. This is hard to find in Australia, but I found this, I think it was about, $40 or something for 6% hydrogen peroxide. I think is that 4 litres? Yeah, it's 4 litres. Now I'm just gonna, I think I'll just use this vessel. I have this just sitting here and this will be fine for now to at least just soak these roots. I'm just gonna pour in a healthy dose here. That's probably enough. That's probably more than enough. So there you go, that's at about 6%. If I fill this up with water, it's probably gonna bring it down to about 1%. That should still be enough to disinfect. So I'm thinking 1 part hydrogen peroxide and about 5 parts water, and that's obviously brought it down by a ratio of, what's that, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. So it should be at about 1% strength. So I'm just gonna dip this down in here and hopefully not damage any of the leaves. And I think I will just let it sit there, bubbling away. And that's one way to know that it's working. If you can see bubbles forming, that is where I believe the hydrogen peroxide is oxidizing. So it is, I think it's destroying cell walls and pulling away atoms that are reacting with the sort of free oxygen molecule that's coming off the hydrogen peroxide. Is it a molecule? Yeah, and turning it into water and allowing the oxygen atom to just come off. So yeah, that's bubbling away. Should be sweet. I might even just use this to put the plant in because this is probably pretty good. So I guess whilst this is doing its thing, I'm gonna go and get some leca. We'll give that a rinse and then we will pot her up. Okay, so I've got some leca sitting in a bucket off screen. I am soaking it and I think it's probably a great way to exfoliate your hands, guys. I was digging in there trying to mix it around and I feel like I've taken the top layer of my skin off, but yeah, hopefully it's silky smooth after that. Anyway, so whilst the leca's soaking, whilst this guy is soaking, I'm going to mix up a solution for this dude. And what I have is, and sorry, I always keep talking when I come off camera. I bought this recently at a hydroponics store, so it's just an AB solution. I'm using Professor's Original, so they're obviously ripping off Einstein here. And yeah, I think you just mix these together. I've also got some pH down. So I believe this is just acetic acid. Is that what it is? No, citric acid, okay? And you only need like, what does it say here? 10 to 15 milliliters per 100 liters of hydroponic solution, and it will decrease the pH by 1 unit. So if you wanted to go from 7 to 6, 10 to 15 milliliters. My pH of my water is about 7, 7.5, and so I need to bring it down to around 6 to ideally. So I think we'll mix this solution up and then we'll pH it, and then if it needs to be brought down, we'll mix some of this in and pH it again. So yeah, I'm gonna go find my pH testing kit. All right, got my toolbox. Open this guy up. Okay, pH kit, pH testing kit. I need some liquid. I'm gonna get a bottle. I'm gonna rinse this out and then we'll test the pH. Okay, we got 2 liters here. I'm gonna grab my little measuring syringe, if I can find it. Here we go. And I actually have the AB solutions here. I don't need these bottles. Maybe I will twist this leaf out of my way. And so you have to mix these separately. I was told at least you don't want to chuck them both in together with no water and have them sort of mixed together before adding the water. So what I normally do now, and it's 5 milliliters per liter, I think. That is the, ooh, is that a bit strong? 1 liter, 5 milliliters, that's the normal ratio. So maybe I will bring it down a little bit, do it by half. Okay, so I'm gonna do 5 ml for 2 liters. That's the A solution there. Put that in. I'm gonna chuck the lid on, give it a shake, just to try and make sure that it's distributed throughout the water column. I'm gonna get a bit nerdy there. Concentration is down, and then we will get the B solution here. Ideally, you would rinse this out, and I'm gonna do that. The reason that I am rinsing that out is because I don't want there to be A solution in here when I pull the B solution into it, because you end up with, the solutions causing lockout by, I think, sort of binding together. I'm trying to get the air bubble out. All right, I think that's probably about 5 mil. So again, boom, in we go. And just get the excess in there too. Give that a rinse in a bit. Chuck the lid on. Give it a shake again. All right, so I'm curious to pH this. I think it is at about 6.5, 6.5, maybe a little higher, maybe between 7 and 6.5 here to be between these two, I think, but we'll just do it again to double check. So I need 10 mil in this little vial. I have bought a better pH meter, which is currently in the mail. It cost me, I think it was about $120, but hopefully it's a lot more accurate than doing it like this by eye. So we pour out 10 mil, and then we do 2 drops of this solution. 1, 2. Boop. Okay. Hopefully you can see that, guys. Not sure if it's on camera or not. Chuck the lid on. Give it a shake and bake. Here is the color. I wonder if you can see that. To me, it's looking, if I look up to the light, it's looking a bit green. So it may be, it's sort of between, I don't know. This is why I don't really like these tester kits. They're kind of hard to judge, but it feels like it's about 6.5, I think. Again, let me have a look. Yeah, that could be, it's so hard to tell. It's kind of got a green tinge to it, but it could be about 6.5, I think. So to be safe, I'm going to try and bring it down half a pH unit. So I'm going to tip this out and give it a rinse, because we will pH test again shortly. And it's obviously important to do this after you've added the solutions, your AB solution, into the water, because if you test the water beforehand, it may be at a higher pH or a lower pH, and then when you add your solutions, they may not be at the same pH that your water is, and they can obviously cause it to go up or down dramatically, potentially, if you don't test it. So yeah, always test your solution after you've added in your AB or whatever else you're going to add in there. So I'm going to take, I think we only need about 0.5 ml. To be honest, I think we'll just eyeball it. I really hate when they put these like strip protector things on top of bottles, and the little tab is just weak as fuck. It's so annoying. You have to use a knife to like cut around and get in there. So give me a sec. I need a smaller syringe. I don't even think we need 0.5. So if we're using, see if I can do this math in my head. If we're using 10 to 15 mil per 100 liters, that's 1 to 1.5 per 10 liters. So divide that again by 5. I want to bring it down about half. So it should only be about 0.1 of a mil, I think. So that's a very, very, very little amount, obviously. So I'm going to suck some up into the syringe. And I'm going to not push everything out. Okay, I'm going to go down, that's 0.5 ml, 2.5, I'm just going to try and get right to the end. All right, that looks like it's probably about 0.1 to 0.2. Bang, okay, suck it in, suck it out, push it out. It's amazing how little of this stuff you need, but I think the pH of this stuff is at like 2 or something. It's really low as it is, and as we worked out last time, the pH curve is logarithmic, like a, what would you call it? I can't even remember what they use anymore for earthquakes. It's not the Richter scale anymore. It's a different scale, but it's also logarithmic like that. So, you know, like a earthquake that is 7 on the scale is actually 10 times more powerful than a 6. Okay, get the solution out. Yeah, we're at about 10. I might pour a little bit back. Okay, good enough. Just going to put my lid on here so I don't spill it. This is still bubbling away. Man, there's a lot of green algae that's obviously getting messed up. Check this out. That water's already turning green. So Poor algae in there's getting obliterated. 1, 2. Okay. This definitely looks greener this time. Woof, much greener. Okay, brilliant. So that to me looks like it could be, it's so hard to tell. It could be 5. Man, it could be 4.5. It's so, yeah, I hate these charts. They're so annoying. I reckon it might be too low, guys. Far out. I might just pour a bit of this out, add a bit more water in, and we'll do it again because I have a feeling it may have gotten too low. It might be at about 5 now, and we need it a bit higher than that. So I've poured out about 1/5, and I added water back in, just tap water, to hopefully bring the pH up. It's going to reduce the nutrient level by, well, yeah, about 1/5. So it'll be at about, what's that? Half strength minus another 1/5, so like 0.4 strength. But I'm more worried about the pH because I have a feeling this is pH lockout related than it is not enough nutrients. All right, so let's try that one more time. Get back to 10. Okay, a little bit less. All right, it's a bit under, but should be all good. In fact, maybe I can just use the syringe. Meniscus level always screws me up. The level that the water gets pulled up the side of the jar or whatever, compared to the level that the bottom is at, right? Okay, boom, boom. I wonder if this is going to even have made a difference. It's still pretty yellow, or yellowy. See, yeah, I feel like that could be like 4.5. Jesus Christ, this is so hard to gauge, guys. I don't know if you can tell. See, it feels like it's just way too, is that like 4.5? You know what? I think I've got pH up. I'll go grab that, and we can use that instead. That might have been better. Yeah, that might have saved us a lot of time. I just realized I'm like, got some pH up as well. All right, let's see if I can actually pull a tab off this time without messing it up. I really want to use my mouth for this, but I don't think that's a good idea. So this is potassium carbonate. It is a base, which means the pH should be above 7.5. It should be about 8 or so. I'm going to take the same, Jesus, this thing was filled to the brim. I'm going to take about the same amount that I took of the pH down, because perhaps it was at about the right level. I am going to mix it into the bottle. I guess we're just sort of bringing it back to what it was beforehand. So yeah, I can't wait to get this pH kit, guys, or the probe, and actually use that to give me a much more accurate measurement, because yeah, I feel like this thing is so annoying. Rinsed it out. One more time. Just gonna get a little bit out of the lid. Okay, we'll put another 10 ml in here. Burp, burp, burp. I don't know why I made that sound. Burp, burp, burp. Okay, we're at about 10. Just be like dark green. 1, 2. Please be dark green. Tell me that you're at 6. I feel like 6 would be fine. I will use 6. Okay. How does that look, guys? I think, see, yeah, it's just tough to tell. See, it looks green, sort of, but it could be like 6.5. This is so annoying. This is honestly so annoying. Oh man. I feel like if I hold it up to the light, it's green. And yeah. But if I hold it this way, it looks dark. It looks brown, like 6.5. So it's very tough to tell which one it is. I think we will just call it that, guys, and we'll see how we go. I'll take this guy out now. Hopefully it's at about 6. 6.5, 5.5 to 6.5 should be about okay. I think it has to be 5.5 to 6.4, I think. I'll have to check, but I think it's about that. It should be that sort of range, and that's ideal in semi-hydroponics or hydroponics. But yeah, again, if you guys have any advice, feel free to leave it down below. Let's take this guy out now that he's had a nice little soak. I can hear that bubbling away. I'll rest him down here, and I'm going to go give this a thorough rinse out, and then chuck some leca in, to make a reservoir at the bottom, and then we'll chuck him in, fill it up with leca, put some nutrient solution in, and keep an eye on it. And I think if it keeps going downhill, I'll either put it in soil, because soil will act as a sort of pH buffer. So again, if it's a pH issue and I'm screwing up the solution, hopefully the soil will sort of buffer it out and take control of it. If not, I will just propagate it, chop and prop. All right, so I've got my little reservoir's worth of leca at the bottom here. It's probably a little bit too much. You want about 2 inches should be okay. I'm just using an orange juice bottle. It's got this really nice shape to it, which kind of gives it some structural integrity. I don't know if you can see that. And the bottom's really flat and kind of as wide as the top. So I have some glass vessels that you may have seen me using, but they're vases and they're kind of slightly curved in at the bottom like this, kind of like a cone, and they can get a little top heavy, especially when you have a plant like this, where the leaves have now started to kind of wonk out and go all over the shop. So yeah, trying to add a bit more structural integrity and stability to the semi-hydro setup. So I'm going to fill this in, obviously, with leca. I don't think there's much explaining needed. I'm trying to give it a good bang to just make sure that the leca gets into all the little gaps that are down there. I really need a stake, to be honest. I might try and find a little... I was using these skewers, but I think I might actually try and find a better stake. Give me a sec. I have got myself one of these, and I think I'm going to leave this on the outside of the vessel here because it could rot if it's in the leca. So yeah, again, give me advice on that. If you have plastic or metal stakes, it's probably fine, but this one's wood, so I think it's probably going to be fine if I just do that. And I'm just looking for some duct tape here. Give me 1 sec, guys. Probably just need 1 ring of this duct tape to go around the bottle here, because if I do too many, I'm not going to be able to see into the leca. Okay, so that's probably electrical tape. God damn. All right, let's see if I can stand this upright. You know what? What I can do is just put it over the label that is already on the container, and it sort of makes no difference. So there we go. Okay, let's make sure it's facing up. Looks good. Put you down. Put you on there. Boom. Okay, sweet. There we go. Now, what are we doing with the leca? I sort of stopped because I wasn't sure. I'm like, am I going to chuck a stake inside of this? And when I went and got them, I was like, oh, they're all wooden or bamboo, so probably not the best idea. All right, guys, I think we are done. I think we are all good. Here's what she looks like currently. The roots are to about here, so I think I'll probably fill up this section, maybe a little bit more, because these are adapted now to be in the liquid at the bottom here, so it shouldn't be too bad if the liquid comes up a bit. I was about to grab for this. That is not what I want to put in there. We will get the hydroponic solution here. I guess I'll test this again when my little meter comes, which should be here by the end of the week. And hopefully it's at the 6.5 or lower range. If not, I will have to flush this out and give it something else. And obviously in the meantime, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on these leaves and really hope that they kind of unfurl. I really want them to just get that nice sort of, what would you say, unfurled, uncurled, kind of rigid look that's just so nice in the Floridas, the Philodendron Floridas. So yeah. All right, maybe a little bit more. Anyway. Okay, so that's where I put the water level up to. You can see it's just at where the roots are, a little bit up, maybe a centimetre or 2 up the roots here right at the bottom, and I'll just keep an eye on them to make sure they're not rotting off, but they should be okay. I guess I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you for joining me. I am Pete. This is Pete versus Plants. YouTube reckons you're going to enjoy this video, and I'll see you next time.